I think we're going. There we go.
There it goes.
Hey everyone, Mike Rosehart here for the Mike Rosehart Show live. We actually just went live on the old channel by accident. OBS was linked up to the old channel, so hopefully now it's working. I was on OBS streaming to my old channel, and now we have the new channel, the second channel that's just for the live streams, just for this show, where we're actually going to be going live. So hopefully everyone didn't jump over to the old channel and think, why is Mike not responding to my comments? Because I didn't realize it was streaming to the old channel. So the old channel still exists. The Mike Rosehart channel that existed before will be for uploads. As you guys know, we're gonna do the real estate investing show on the new channel, the Mike Rosehart Show. So once you jump onto the Mike Rosehart Show, hopefully you'll see that I'm now going live here on this channel, the Mike Rosehart Show. So the Mike Rosehart Show is a channel designed to be more engaging with the audience and not going to penalize the algorithm. The algorithm won't penalize me like it did before. So what would happen is I do a Wednesday upload, only a couple of people would tune in, and then maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 people might tune in. But then on my Saturday upload, I get thousands and thousands of views. YouTube would think that because only 500 people say watch my live stream, that my channel isn't as engaging as it could be. And so I think, it's just a test, but I think that having a separate channel for going live and a separate channel for specifically Saturday uploads will bode better overall. Hey Mike, how you doing? I see you jumping here. He says, let's go. So I don't know if people are gonna get this or not. We're on the new channel, so no one gets notifications now unless they're actively looking for this new channel. So please, if you jump on this new channel, hit the notification bell, subscribe to it. The loyal, like core 200 to 300, I'll eventually get you guys all over, and we'll be able to do the live show from here. This one might be a rocky one. I don't know. I'm kind of just like casualed out today because whatever happens, happens. So whoever gets in here, looks like, oh, I see Tommy's down here. Hey, how's it going? I'll have to delete the other stream because people might be thinking the other stream's still going. So let's get in there and delete that stream. People are still joining that one. I can see notifications on my phone. So that'll probably help a little bit. Let's see if I can get that deleted. Yeah, there's 15 people in it right now trying to watch it. We'll get that killed. Jordan, how you doing? Jordan's first time on the Mike Rosehart Show. So basically you can ask whatever you want. We're talking about real estate investing, how you can use real estate investing to retire early, get higher returns on your investment. Real estate in of itself isn't necessarily anything special. It's the same as investing in any other, vehicle like stocks or bonds or buying and selling businesses. I'm fans of all of those things, but real estate investing, you can use cheap debt to lever your money up and get way higher returns. So that's a big one. Eric, good to see you on as well. Now, I don't know if everyone will migrate over to this new channel, but hopefully people will find it. And if you do, jump in the comments and let me know that you found it. Let me know you hit the subscribe and the notification bell. I'd really appreciate it. It means a lot. Any questions you guys have now? The early adopters on this first stream will get to monopolize my time. You've got over an hour of my time right now for free, so take advantage of it. Ask whatever questions you would like. This Saturday, we got some cool content coming your guys' way on the main channel, and this is the second channel. So on the second channel here would just be off the cuff. I might just pull out my phone and go live at a property, or I might just do maybe I just want to do a quick and dirty, like 5-minute post on, whatever. Just set up my phone up and away I go. I don't have to worry about going to the same level of quality that I do on my main channel. So this is like, think of it like a Patreon account. So my loyal subscribers get a free Patreon account if they just subscribe to this one, where we can have more engaging chats, and that's the idea of it at the end of the day. So I'll see you guys in the comments here. Let's see if there's any questions. So Eric, how you doing? Tommy says, what insurance policies do you generally get for your rental properties? So insurance policies, I'm a big believer in self-insurance. That's because I've built a portfolio where I have a good emergency fund. I have stuff set aside so that I'm not necessarily relying on the insurance if something goes wrong. So if, for instance, my basement flooded out of property last year, we had major downpour rains, and the corner got all wet, and then actually 2 corners got wet, and it sort of came together in the center. And all the laminates got buckled, and we had to take the floors up. We had to fix the water leak. It actually turned out to be a really easy fix. We just had to grind along the driveway side and tar caulk all the way along and then build it up, as well as in the window well, we had to do some capping along the window and dig the window well deeper and put a drain in. Very simple to do, like a $500 fix, which stopped all of the rain issues, as well as I think we diverted the eaves trough away. So little things like that can just stop a basement from leaking. Very easy to do. Now, the tough part is deciding to how much do you want your deductible to be. So with an insurance policy, you have a deductible. A deductible is basically if you make a claim, you have to pay X amount of deductible first before you get your claim money back. So let's say you had a $5,000 basement leak that happened. If you had a $5,000 deductible, which is the maximum deductible you can have on an insurance policy, you'd make no claim because you're going to get $5,000 and your insurance has a deductible of say $4,900 or $5,000. And so basically you'd get nothing. So the insurance company knows anything less than $5,000 you're not going to claim. Therefore, they will reduce the cost of your insurance premiums substantially. I keep $5,000 deductible on all of my policies. That's because if something major happens, I have good liability and coverage. I believe in like 2 million minimum for liability coverage, but I'd like a big umbrella policy on my properties. If someone dies in your property, something major happens, like $1 million lawsuit, you don't want it to sink you, right? You don't want that risk. So having liability insurance is one required by your bank. Your bank requires fire and liability insurance on the property as long as you have a mortgage on the property. So you have to have insurance anyway. And if you have to have it, then you might as well get the proper coverages for liability. I believe that anything minor, I'm not going to go through the stress because if I had to make an $8,000 claim, let's say, on my property because a basement flooded or a roof, whatever, blew off, my insurance premiums are going to go up. The insurance company always wins. So they'll increase your premiums across all your properties to make up for that, right? So they'll get their money back in time anyway. So I don't ever make a claim. I've never made a claim on a car or home ever to date. I've never made an insurance claim ever. Even when I've got in accidents, I don't report it because I don't want my record being tainted on my property. So I'm a big believer in like insurance is there for if something major happens, but that's pretty much it, guys, right? That's pretty much it. So anyway, I see some chat. Let's get down here and engage. D's information, yes. So D's information, you get a shout out. Tony also gets a shout out for being the 10th as well. So you guys get shout outs. Thank you so much for being here. The 7 of you guys that are watching right now have found the new channel, and I appreciate that a lot. Usually we've got like 25 or 30, and I assume most people aren't getting the notification, unfortunately, because they're not subscribed and they didn't hit the notification bell on the new channel. Being subscribed is not enough. You have to also click that notification bell. So please do that. Crypto Cheese, you also get a shout out. I see you down there calling out for a shout out. Think about this as an opportunity. The less people that are here, the more attention you guys get. If there's like 8 people here, you guys can share my attention and get all your questions answered live for free. People pay big bucks to talk to Mr. Rosehart, so get a chance to get that for free here every Wednesday. As long as people keep coming out, I'll keep doing the show. If we get to a point where like, I'll keep trying, I'll keep going weeks and weeks, but if we get to a point where no one's watching and I've said all there is to say, and actually I've probably said most of what there is to say already, but you'd have to watch, I guess, 51 live streams at an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours each, which is 100 hours of content almost. That's a lot. I don't know if I've said it all in the same way. So there's different variations on the same questions that I can answer in a different way, but I've pretty much said everything once. So Emma wants a shout out. Emma who? Like Emma out there?
Emma. Yeah.
Does she?
Yes.
Okay. Emma wants a shout out. My daughter Emma wants a shout out. I guess she's watching and listening as well. So that's kind of cool. Hi, Emma. Daddy loves you. Next question. I moved from Mississauga to London. I was intrigued by the property prices here. Yeah, Jordan, London's a great market. It is less affordable than it was before, but still extremely affordable. I think that it's come a long way. So where the average detached house was like 250, 300,000 only a few years ago, and is now like almost 500,000 in London. That's still hella affordable compared to the $1 million detached house in Toronto, right? So we're at least half price. The cap rates are twice as good. The cash flow is in some areas of London triple what it is in Toronto. So when you have the same property at the same value and it's getting triple the cash flow, I mean, that's a no-brainer for me. I think that London is a strong economic powerhouse in the sense that it's a very diverse economy. It's not necessarily all blue collar, not necessarily all white collar. It's a good mix of everything. We got the largest university town, college town. So we've got the most students of any city per capita in Canada, I believe. So we've got the University of Western Ontario, which has 50-something thousand students. We have Fanshawe College, which is the largest college, I believe in Canada, but for sure in Ontario, it's the largest college. And it has 25,000 if you include part-time. So we have like 80,000. There's like Trios College and a few other colleges in the area, right? So you've got like 80, 90,000 students in London. Our population's a little over 500,000 in the greater area. So 500,000 and about 100,000 of them are students. Another 100,000 of them service the students in some way, shape, or form. Either work in the universities in some capacity, work in the colleges in some capacity, or service that economy in some way. I happen to house almost 300 tenants in London, Ontario. A lot of our properties have 6, 7 bedrooms, so we're housing 6 or 7 students. In some cases, there's 2 students in a room. A lot of the Indian students going to Fanshawe like to do the 2 students in the bigger rooms, and that's their thing. I don't judge. I just charge a premium for the utility usage, and I get a little bit of a bonus that way. So yeah, basically we're housing like 300 people here. So even I'm servicing the students here. Not all of our tenants are students, but I would say probably half are students. So that's something right there about London, Ontario that I really like, is that it's a diverse economy. In times of recession, education actually tends to grow. People tend to go back to university, back to college to get trained. So education tends to be a very recession-proof type industry. So because of that, our economy here is very strong. We have a really strong healthcare economy. We have a great bit of manufacturing outside the Toyota plant and things like that. In Woodstock, we've got in the general radius, like the Dr. Oetker packaging plants, like all the frozen pizzas and stuff like that. Maple Leafs just opening up brand new. They closed their plant in Oshawa and they're moving it here to London, which is like a $3 billion investment. So there's a ton of investment into London. I think London's overall a strong, viable city for the long term. There are smaller cities like Sarnia, where I'm from, that I don't believe are as strong long term. They're tied, for instance, to the Chemical Valley. And so where they're reliant on like Nova and some of the big petrochemical companies, we aren't in London. So we have a more diverse economy. That said, in cities like Windsor and Sarnia and Chatham, those smaller outlier cities, you get way better cash flow, but a lot higher risk and lower stability. So who knows where the city will be in 50 years? We know London's going to be here. It's going to be strong. We don't know if Sarnia will still be here. The population isn't increasing in Sarnia. It's actually pretty flat, right? So you've got a city that isn't growing, whereas London's growing robustly, right? And so in London, you get a bit more appreciation, but a bit less cash flow than you would in, say, Sarnia or Windsor. But I think a place like Windsor or Sarnia, if something happens to the blue collar or petrochemical areas in Windsor or Sarnia, then you're drastically affected in a major way, right? And so that's something that kind of you have to factor in. So you get more cash flow, but you have higher risk and worse appreciation theoretically, and worse long-term viable prospects. So yeah, I think both markets are great. I'm looking at a 19-unit property coming up in Sarnia, so we'll probably expand to Sarnia sometime soon if the numbers can make sense. I would also expand to Windsor in the same way. I would not put all my eggs in the Windsor basket. I would not put all my eggs in the Chatham basket or the Sarnia basket. I just don't believe in being just in that one market. I don't know. I grew up in Sarnia, so that says enough right there. Okay, next question. With 20% down, it seems I can cash flow about $100 to $200, not counting my principal payment. Do you think this is a decent number? So in London, no. I think that's a pretty poor cash flow in London. I think you're probably buying in the wrong areas of London and the wrong kinds of properties. Probably your real estate agent is making you look in the wrong areas, or maybe you're looking at really high quality properties. So you got your A properties, your B properties, your C properties, your D properties, and I call your E properties. And your E properties are like teardowns, and your like level 1 A properties are like the nicest new build mint properties. Maybe they're single family, really easy to manage. And then I think like the B tenant is like where I aim. The B tenant or the B property is what I like. So it's got a little bit of deferred maintenance, maybe even the C property. It's got some deferred maintenance, needs some work. We can bring it up a notch to a B property, put in new tenants, revitalize the whole thing, and then get a ton of cash flow. If I were to buy the A property or the B property at the outset, I'd have a lot less cash flow in London today. Just because things are selling at like a 6 cap rate, right? A 7 cap rate. Unfortunately, that isn't great from a cash flow perspective. You want to find more of that 10 cap rate as much as possible. Like when I buy a property that's a $300,000 property here in London, Ontario, I expect $3,000 a month in rent, right? If I'm buying a $500,000 property here in London, I want $6,000 a month in rent, a little bit over 1% rule. And so where in Sarnia you might get maybe a $500,000 property would get you $7,000 or $8,000 a month in rent, right? A $300,000 property in Sarnia in the right area might get you $4,000 a month in rents. It kind of depends. What I found is that Sarnia doesn't have great rents. It's kind of kind of overall, you got to really get a good price on the property that you're buying. You got to be very careful buying the MLS in that market as well. But yeah, it sort of depends on the market that or what area of the market you're trying to focus on. So for instance, London has East London that is a lot rougher than, say, Northwest London. Northwest London is very well-to-do. The average income is almost double what it is in the rougher areas of like Hamilton and Egerton and all like the really rough parts of Soho. And there's some really bad areas in London where you can get distressed properties for a good deal and have good cash flow. But with that cash flow comes headaches. So maybe you're getting $100, $200 a door or a property or whatever. I don't know if it's a duplex, single family. Maybe that's what you're doing, Jordan, and you have low headaches. And so for $200, a month coming in, that's pretty good for no headaches. You could get probably $600 or $700 a month in London, maybe even $1,000 a month a door in London for a lot of headaches. Then you might have to buy a triplex or a fourplex. It's a little bit worn down. You got to spend some time on. You got bad tenants you have to work on evicting. Those are the kind of properties that I've been focusing on, and that's where I create a lot of value for my investors because I buy that C property, that C minus property, bring it up to a B plus, and in the process of that, create a lot of value add, right? So that's one strategy I use to invest in real estate, and it works out very, very well. Crypto Cheese says, hey Mike, I'm looking to acquire a 3-unit property for $150,000. Cheap, $50,000 a unit. I'm going to put 20% down, so $30,000. I have half the cash. Am I able to get my parent to write me a note saying that they will give me the other $15,000 the day of closing? I use my line of credit to pay the amount I'm missing. Yeah, of course you can do that. Crypto, that's totally something that I've seen done. Financiers will accept a gifting letter. So not a lending letter, but just say that your parents are gifting you the money. That can count as your whole down payment if you want. I've seen people do that and then borrow the whole money from their line of credit to close on the property with none of their own money. So that's a strategy that can work. I use the MBNA credit card here in Canada that says 0% interest. I used that for one of my down payments. My wife and I each got one. I think it had like mine at 10,000, her at 8,000. So we pulled out $18,000 at 0% interest for a year. And there was a balance transfer fee of 1% back then. I think today it's at 2%. I just got one in the mail right now to borrow 10,000 on the MBNA, transfer to my bank account in cash, and you pay the minimum payments, that's it. There's no interest if you pay it back within a year. So you wait till the year mark, you set a reminder in your calendar, and then you pay it back in full. The caveat is you can't miss a minimum payment. If you miss a payment, then they start charging you interest. So don't miss a payment, and you'll be all good. They usually give you one grace period to sort that out. So that's a way you can borrow money really cheaply. Like the MBNA 0% card, max that out. There are other cards like that offer, a Scotiabank, they have one that the Visa there offered me a 0% with a 3% balance transfer fee. So effectively I could borrow cash from the credit card transferred right to my bank account at 0% interest plus a 3% fee. So effectively 3% for the year. Where can you borrow at 2% or 3% for a year? And I'm talking substantial amounts of money, like $10, $20, $30,000. The credit cards that are 0% are a great way to borrow money to buy real estate. Now, you still need to show down payment for the mortgage to qualify for the other 80% you need, right? Even if you can get the 20% down payment from lines of credits or from credit cards, you still have to go and get the 80% approval from the mortgage. So you're gonna need a gifting letter from your parents, a JV partner to help you qualify. You may also potentially use your RRSP or work pension to qualify. RRSPs do qualify for down payments. If you have $100,000 in a registered retirement savings account, it can be used as a down payment. You don't even have to use it for the down payment. Just say you're gonna use it, and then on day of closing, get the money to the lawyer from your line of credit. They don't care as long as they see that you have 20% available to you as either a gift or in your net worth in some way that you can use it. So for instance, if you're selling a property the day before that property you're about to buy, you could say, I'm gonna use the proceeds from this property that's selling the day before for my down payment on this property. I did that once. I sold a property and I closed 2 more the day after. And I showed the bank, hey, I'm selling this property. It's a firm offer. Everything's done. I'm getting $100,000 of equity out of this property that I'm selling, and I'm using it to fund the down payment. And I actually used it to fund the down payment for 4 properties because they didn't know. And I said, you can use the contract and say, hey, I'm gonna fund the down payment for this property with TD. Tell BMO you're buying another. You can buy 4 properties all on the same day theoretically and use the same down payment and show it to each bank. And the bank wouldn't necessarily know you're buying another property because when you disclose, you say, here are the properties that I own. Here are my current assets and liabilities. They're not asking you, are you closing on a second property at the same time? No bank asks that. And so it's not even actually in the disclosure documents that they ask. They don't even ask if you're buying more than one property right now because most people don't buy 4 properties on one day. It's just not a thing you do. So that's a way when you're ready to juice up your last mortgage, you go in and get 4 mortgages all at once, one with each different financial institution. So that's a great thing you can do to ensure that you get the maximum amount of mortgages before you quit your day job. Pro tip. I was told by a friend that the bank would ping my credit prior to deal closing and this would affect the deal. I don't know how it pinging your credit would affect the deal. So that's probably misinformation as far as I know. They will not do that. What they could do is they could check your credit and see if it's drawn down. There could be a covenant on the loan that says, they require the line of credit to be at a zero balance for them to fund the mortgage. Now, will they check that? Probably not. If you're bringing the money to the lawyer the day of closing, which is what I always do, I only bring cash to my lawyer the day of closing. So I bring my down payment the day of closing. Often my mortgage instructions have been given to the lawyer and the lawyer's pulled the funds, has the mortgage in their hand the day of closing. Once the mortgage is in their hand, they're not going to pull it. So then you just bring them a down payment and the deal closes. So this happens all the time. I know lots of friends that do this exactly. So yeah, you can buy a property with that 20% down and just borrow the money from somewhere. Other people's money. There's a strategy called OPM, using other people's money. I used a ton of it. It's how I juiced out the last few deals when I didn't have the capital, or when I had the capital tied up. So hopefully that answered your question, Crypto Cheese. Okay. What do you think about buying a house and putting a hefty down payment, let's say 40%, to make it cash flow? Or would there be a better deal where you can put less down the cash flow? So D's information, good question. I don't believe it makes sense to put more down to get cash flow. That just means the deal isn't good. If it can't cash flow at 20% down, it isn't a good deal from a cash flow perspective. Now, maybe there's some other play you're working on. Maybe you're in Vancouver or Toronto or one of those markets where it isn't about necessarily the cash flow. It's about maybe you have some play where you're going to add value. Maybe it's going to be a flip or whatever, right? There are still ways to play in the real estate game without cash flow. I just prefer cash flow. And I think trying to force cash flow by paying down more of the property is a bad use of your money. 40% down, your return on investment is very low. Your ROI, return on investment, is very, very low. I think you're probably better just investing in the better cash flowing market and or just lending to someone. Because you can just lend to someone at like 10 or 12%. 12% on $1 million is $120,000 a year. That's $10,000 a month passive income. And I mean real passive income, not semi-passive real estate income where you're managing tenants or managing a property manager. So you got to compare to the do nothing option. The do nothing option, the easy option, is just lend your money to someone and get $10,000 a month in passive income. So let's say you invest in real estate and you get $12,000 a month. Would you say it's worth, would it be worth like 20 hours of your time and all the stress to manage all these properties to get a couple $1,000s more when you could just make $10,000 doing nothing? It's the logic that I had when I sold my real estate portfolio. I said, hey, I could just sell everything, take my net worth, lend it out to different people. It's extremely passive, secured against their real estate, have them manage it. I just have a mortgage on it, collect the income, or lend it to a flipper or something like that, and collect. I was basically able to collect about what I was collecting from my own real estate portfolio, net of if I were to hire a property manager, hire a construction guy, and really outsource everything with my portfolio. And it was crazy because the reason for that was because the appreciation was such that my properties have been paid down 40-45% because I've been paying down the mortgage, and then the property value spiked because I did a bunch of renovations, as well as the market heated up overall. So when you have a real estate portfolio and all of a sudden you've got a whole bunch of equity in those properties at market value, the decision, if you can't refinance the money out, because my first answer is always refinance the money out because it's a tax-free pull of capital from your properties. But let's say you have no job and you can't refinance that, you've already retired, and you can't get that money out, which is the situation I was in. It makes sense to sell and take that money and put it to work and make 12%. Because sometimes your real estate portfolio, if you have an 8 cap, if your properties are worth 6 cap at market, even if you bought them at a 15 cap rate, if they're worth 6 cap rate on the net operating income, they're generating 6% rate of return. At 6% rate of return, if you have them paid out 100% down, so you own them outright, you're getting a 6% rate of return on your money. That is a bad rate of return. So owning real estate can be a bad idea. It might make more sense if you can't refinance to sell the property and invest that capital elsewhere, especially if you can lend it to a flipper and make 12 or 15%. There are a lot of investors I know that have their properties 50% paid down, not because they bought them 50% cash down, but because they bought them 20% down, they paid the mortgage down a little bit over a couple of years, they did some renovations, added value to the property, and then the market exploded. And so their properties are worth a lot more than they were before. And now at market value of the property, their mortgage is about half of what the property is worth. It's just the nature of what happens in real estate. And at a certain point, if you don't refinance that money back out, it's a bad use of your capital to continue to hold that property. A lot of people have this mindset of holding real estate forever, not necessarily the smartest mindset from a maximized return on investment perspective. So you have to rebalance your portfolio and think accordingly. So hopefully that was adding a bit of insight there. Hey, William, good to see you on. Mike volunteered today at the Restore. Have you ever been there? It's pretty cool. Have a lot of building supplies and way fair returns. Yeah, William, I actually love the Restore. We used to go there a lot for things like sinks because they're like pretty standard. Kitchen cabinets sometimes come in there really, really cheap. I even saw some granite come in there once. It was really cheap. It's like $200 and really nice cabinets. A lot of stuff at the Restore is great. You've got to be careful. Some stuff isn't so great at the Restore. What I like the Restore for is like if you need a custom solid wood door because a tenant broke one, you can go to the Restore and they got a bunch of solid wood old doors that people have donated and dropped off. I love the Restore. Big fan of it. I use it a lot less now because my contractors would go there and not find what they need. And then I'd be paying them hourly, say $25, $30 an hour to go to the Restore and try to find what they need. So I'd say it's not necessarily good for a big business person, but if you're smaller, got a couple rental properties, it can make a lot of sense. It doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for someone who's, got a big portfolio of properties because your time becomes valuable, right? And if you're going there to save $20 or $50 and you've wasted 2 hours in the process, that's not necessarily a good use of your time. Or if the item you're getting is broken in some way, then you're at a bit of a disadvantage. But yeah, I love the Restore. It's great. Tiger Rock's good to see you on. Mike, I'll catch the replay for what I missed. Yeah, no worries, no worries. Good to see you on. Thank you for joining the channel. We got 14 of you guys jumping on, so it looks like a lot of the regulars have found their way over to the new channel to watch the live stream. We're gonna find out how many of you guys subscribe and hit the like button. Hopefully, Kyle, you can maybe, I did a post on my Facebook, you can share it, post a link to the stream there, people can watch. We'll post it on the Fired Up Finance and a few of the other groups, so the diehards will find it. The people who aren't diehards who just casually click on the live stream and watch it after, those guys are gonna miss out and they're gonna be like, hey, what happened? Mike stopped doing his live streams. What's going on here? So yeah, if that live stream still exists on my main channel, we should comment on that one and just say, here's a link to the new channel until we delete it.
True.
Might be a good idea. Yeah, I'll keep going with the questions here. So yeah, D's information to answer your question about cash flow and forcing cash flow through putting more down, that's a bad strategy. I don't advise that strategy. If we get to a point in London where there's no cash flow, I mean, I don't know if it'll happen. I think rents will keep climbing and cash flow will be possible. We'll have to just be more creative with how we get to that cash flow. But I think that with more cash flow, what we're going to find is that, with less cash flow, what we're going to find is that strategies have to change. And what worked before doesn't necessarily work now. So maybe where I was doing duplexes, maybe now I have to do fourplexes. Or maybe where I was doing duplexes before, I have to start doing some Airbnb strategies to get the cash flow up. Maybe I have to add an extra bedroom or two in the basement or rejig the layout and turn a dining room into an extra bedroom to get that cash flow and make it work. So there's a way to make it work. You just have to be a bit more creative. And I think what will happen is where I could buy maybe 30% of all properties in London, maybe once this market heats up a bit more, I'm only be able to buy 15% of properties in London. So maybe 85% of all properties in London don't meet my metrics. They're just not good cash flow properties. So what that would mean is like when you meet a real estate investor who has a few properties in London, most of the ones that I meet, they own property that's crappy and they own property that doesn't cash flow very well. And it's unfortunate because like half of all landlords own crap properties. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of what it is, right? Every property can't be a winner. And most people don't know how to find the winners or how to create the winners out of losers that they've bought, right? And so that's just the nature of the game. At the end of the day, if you're getting a decent return on your money, you should be happy because real estate investing is just about getting a relatively safe return on your capital. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Jordan just chimed in with GM and Cami too. Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of manufacturing, a ton of like car manufacturing, and there's even a ton of other different manufacturing stuff too, like the Cuddy's just outside of London there does all the chicken nuggets from McDonald's. There's a whole bunch of stuff in London that it makes it a very diverse market overall. Ton of construction boom going on right now here. We have a lot of healthcare stuff going on too. So London's a good market overall. Very bullish on London in the under 400,000 price range. I'm very bullish. So on those $100,000 detached houses, $200,000 detached houses, very bullish. Anything that cash flows very strongly, I'm extremely bullish on right now. It's very hard in this market. The MLS is just bad. Properties that are well priced are getting 20 offers and it's going crazy. So I'm just staying out of those situations because I don't want to be the one that overpays. There are the odd multiple offer situation where you can still win, but it can be a big time suck. So be careful of that, guys. Austin, or should I say Antonio? Just kidding, Austin. How do you get approved for a mortgage with little income? And do I even lift? Bro, if anyone's following my Instagram, I'm gonna answer the second question first because you hit close to home. I can barely even stand right now. Like, I was squatting last night. Oh, my legs are so sore. Oh, my calves. Yes, I've been hitting the gym 4 to 5 times a week, so don't even say that. I'm actually getting, I'm going to do a reveal. Tell you what, I'll do a reveal in 4 weeks from now. Deal? 4 weeks. What is the date today? Let's pick 4 weeks from now. That is 1, 2, 3, 4. So on June 19th, I will go live and I will show you guys the progress of Mike Rosehart hitting the gym for 6 or 7 solid weeks. I'm talking hard. I'm talking Jim Stepani's shortcut to size. We're going to see how I'm doing on June 19th. So remind me on June 19th to do a little push-up reveal. I am gaining significant weight. I will gain at least a pound of muscle a week, making it happen through whatever means possible. Tons of protein, tons of excessive hypertrophy style workouts. So we'll see the size. You guys will see. You'll be impressed with the size. I'm already like, holy crap! Like I'm getting so much bigger than what I was even just a little bit ago. That's pulling tight right there. So anyway, a lot bigger than I'm like I have stick arms and stick legs, so it's getting a lot bigger, a lot better. But then now the first question, the serious real estate question, Austin. So how do you get approved for a mortgage with little income? With an A lender, it's very difficult. You need to, so for my mentees, what I'm probably going to do is have to give them a pay stub for a time because you need a job to get mortgages. Like for instance, I went and became a financial planner after I retired for a little bit and I used that to get mortgages and then I quit again. So you get a job for a month and then go get, as long as it's in the same industry, same field, so you call yourself a consultant or something, then you'd be able to qualify for mortgages. So you'd have to architect a job scenario. After you leave your job, you have a few months where your pay stubs will still be valid. So even after you leave your job, you can still get refinances and still borrow from the bank. You can follow a lot of people who are already doing that. And yeah, you can see people who do that all the time. I did that too. So after you leave your job, you have a couple months. But yeah, once your job is completely done and you're unemployed or you're fired, it is very difficult to get a lender financing. So my recommendation is always, if you have a good job, you've got the capital saved up, go ahead and max out those mortgages. Get to those 5 mortgages real quick because the 5 is like the first hurdle, right? Get your 5 mortgages all done with that great job, then pull the trigger to fire. Makes a lot more sense. The other option is you're going to have to partner with someone. So some people can't get the good job, don't want to hold it down. I should have realized earlier on that I could have quit my job in 2016. I quit in 2017. I waited until February 2017. And I was ready to quit in 2016, really ready. I've been there over 2 years and I was going into my 3rd year. And in 2016, I thought to myself, do I want to push it for another 3rd year? I did push it for another 3rd year, but I regret it because I should have started talking to the right people and doing joint ventures earlier on. What I realized is there are a ton of people with jobs. I have a property right now, I'll give you an example, where we have a friend who is a dentist who went on the mortgage, who owns the property outright, but with the lawyer we did an agreement where we own 92% of all of the interest in the property and they get 8%. Now we put all the money up. So they got 8% of the property for free. I gave them 8% of the property for free. Now I bought this property 80 cents on the dollar, so I'm still way below market value, even giving away 8% of the value of the property because I bought it for like 20% under market, giving away 8%, still gives me a 12% discount. And they qualify for an A-lender mortgage at like 3.29% with Scotia. So that's an example where I now own this property. I maybe had to put up the down payment or whatever. We refinanced it out after, it was a burr. So we pulled our down payment back out. No one has any money in the property. And the mortgage register on the property is qualified by someone who has a great job. So there are some people who don't want to invest in real estate, who realize they can get 5 or 10 mortgages with their great income. You find those people and you joint venture with those people. Maybe even get them to put up some capital. Often if they have $200,000 incomes, they tend to have some capital too. Most doctors and dentists and entrepreneurs that have that solid income, 2 years financials, etc., all set up, a lot of them do have savings as well, Austin. So you find those people. Once you've maxed out your personal, you find those people. Or even if you had 0 properties today, I know you have a few in Windsor there, but even if you had 0, you could take your partnerships with those people and get 5 properties in their name, right? And have joint venture agreements with those people. As long as you have trust there, you gotta be able to trust the person, they're not gonna screw you. But if you can build a level of trust, you can have a joint venture agreement with that person. You could be the active manager and get half of the deal basically working with them, right? Maybe you each put up half the capital and they get the mortgage and you bring the management. That's a good symbiotic relationship where you can keep buying properties without needing the day job. Then I'm going to talk about a whole nother segment, which is you don't want to partner and you just assume you're going to get B lender financing. There are guys like Magenta, and go on Kijiji and type in like private lenders. And you'll see tons of guys who'll give you mortgages at 5 or 6%. Now, if you're buying properties at 10 and 12 cap, getting mortgages, 80% loan to value from B lenders, right? B lenders who are okay, saying, okay, you don't have the income qualification, that's okay. You've got the down payment, we believe in this property, we'll lend on this property. There are B and C lenders who will do that, who will lend without the proper income requirements, right? You'll pay higher interest for that, but you're gonna have a solid overall portfolio. Once you've got a big enough portfolio, say you get 10 or so properties, ideally more than that, you go to the credit unions. And the credit unions have a small business division that loves to lend to real estate, full-time real estate guys. So they treat us like small business people. And they'll lend us again at 3.79, 3.99. My friend John, talk to John Kepler. He's a great example of that. Has lots of units, lots of properties, still getting mortgages today, and doesn't have a day job because he's developed a relationship with the credit union, and the credit union understands and respects that he has a lot of cash flow from his properties, and they lend maybe 75% loan to value at good A lender rates. And I would assume the big credit unions are A lenders. In my opinion, they are A lenders. So you can get A lenders through credit unions once you've established a certain portfolio, right? A certain track record or history, then it's easy, right? So I still get mortgages today without any day job income because credit unions, because, the big banks do have programs. So Scotiabank has a program called the High Net Worth Program. And you snapshot, I think it's $250,000 in cash in your account, plus a bunch more cash, call it another $250,000. Maybe you had to borrow it from someone. I don't care how it got there. It just had to get there and stay there for 30 days. So you could borrow that money. Let's say you had $500,000 in your bank account. The program works such that like this. You can take the first $250,000, I think is just like necessary for the program to qualify. But then the next $250,000, they treat every dollar of cash in your account equivalent to income. So you can borrow, I think, 65% loan to value on the cash. So if you put $1 million in a bank account, you can now get a mortgage like that for, I don't know what would that be, like $500,000 roughly. $480,000, $500,000 mortgage. So now I can buy again, even without income requirements, using the high net worth program. Last year, CIBC had a really great high net worth program. It was a 100,000 snapshot plus 10,000 per property in a reserve fund. So you had to show, I had like 9 properties. So at the time I had to show 100,000 plus 90,000 for 190,000. And then I'll get into the high net worth program and I get mortgages all day long. It's smart for the bank because rich people don't default on their mortgages mostly. Like their default rate is super low for the ultra wealthy. What is safer, lending to someone who has a lot of money or lending to someone who has no money and a good job? Who could lose their job anytime? Anyway, the CRA has put down some big pressure. They want rich people to start claiming more income. And so they've been cutting back the lending requirements federally. So, and credit unions are not regulated federally, they're regulated provincially. So it's opposite to the bank, right? One's regulated federally, one's regulated provincially. So the credit unions have certain stress testing rules, for instance. Stress testing rules that came out do not apply to credit unions. They are not mandated by that same governing body. And so when the stress testing rules came out, if you were dealing with like Libro Credit Union or Main Street Credit Union or Meridian Credit Union or Van City, all of those credit unions, you were not affected at all by the stress testing rules people were talking about. So it's all about who you deal with and how you deal with that. There are so many ways to skin the cat. At the end of the day, it is a lot easier than you might think to get mortgages if you're knowledgeable about the process, if you know the right people and you know how to put together a good business case. So hopefully that answered your question. I probably missed some stuff. I probably wasn't exclusively comprehensive, but I might have missed a couple things. Hopefully that helped. Austin says, no mic, no reveal. Well, you're getting a reveal, Austin, whether you like it or not. Okay. Thank you for the shout out. No problem. Okay, so here's the next question. How can you go no conditions on financing and be confident you'll be able to finance? And what's your bench press? Oh, come on. So how can you go no conditions on financing? So why do I talk about doing no condition offers. I like to do no financing, no building inspection, no conditions of any sort. That's because my offer is more attractive than the offer with those things in them. I do that taking a bit of a risk. So I've been doing no conditions offers since 2015. So since 2015, I haven't put in I put in like 2 conditional offers of like over 100 offers, 80 or 90 offers at least that I've put in. Way more than that, probably 150 or 200 offers. And they've all been no conditions. Why do I do no conditions offers and accept the risk? I know that I can get a property closed. I've always believed that if I had 6 weeks to close a property or 4 weeks to close a property, that with enough hustle, I could find the money. If the deal is good enough, the money will come. And I've always believed that. Since 2015, I've always believed if the deal is good enough, the money will come. So I will only know conditions if I know the deal is good enough. And if the deal is good enough, Austin, you're confident in your numbers, then it's a matter of just shopping the deal to 10 people. 10 phone calls to the right people. Back then, there was no Instagram, 2015, 2016. And so a couple times, actually, I went on Facebook and was like, hey, do any friends have any capital that they could lend me to close a deal? I'm in desperate need. And I had like 3 friends reach out, and one guy said I had 20,000, I have 10,000. Another guy's like, hey, I have 30,000. And people reached out and just gave me the money. I paid them 10 or 12% return on their money, and we got the deals done. I was able to raise the money. Now, I also have really good relationships with a lot of different banks. And when I close on a property, the day I offered on that property, I would go to TD, Meridian, Scotia, BMO, CIBC, RBC, everyone. I didn't use RBC a lot, but I pretty much never used RBC. I used them like one time. But mostly it was TD. I didn't like TD that much. I did like 3 mortgages with them. But I'd always apply with them anyway, just in case. But I love Scotia, love CIBC. And BMO's been really good to me since the beginning. They gave me my first mortgage at 19 when everyone else said no because I didn't have income and I was a 19-year-old kid. They were like, you know what? This guy's an Ivy student. We feel good in his narrative. We're going to take a risk. 5% of our mortgages are in the high risk. So a mortgage book, underwriters have a bit of flexibility. They take exception on 10% of them, 5 to 10% of mortgages that are lent out don't meet any of the requirements. They're that like kid who doesn't have the income requirements. So I wrote a really good case about this property and my plan for the property and my trajectory and what I was doing, and my scholarships and my part-time job and all of this, and put it into an underwriter file and sent that all off to the underwriter with a cover letter, and they called me and we developed a relationship. So that was how I got my first mortgage, was actually spinning a narrative. I didn't let the mortgage broker pitch the deal. I went around and pitched it directly. So that was one way I made them submit a package. But anyway, I got in a huge tangent here. But the point is, I just worked really hard to ensure I get financing, and I just took a risk. I wanted the property so bad that I would make it happen one way or another. I would always find a way to make the property work. And so when I put a no conditions offer on a property, I found a way to make it work. And every time someone would come through for financing. And I always thought to myself, I had a full-time job when I was making a lot of these offers back in the day. I thought, even if I got a no, the very worst case scenario is I have to go to the private market, go on Kijiji, go on the private market and find like 10 guys who lend at like 10%, like these scummy C lenders, and pay them 10% interest cost to finance 80% loan to value of this property. And I got to pay a really high percentage, and then I have to fix it up and refinance it after. That's a worst case scenario. And for a 6-month or 3-month period to pay 10 or 12% rate interest, who cares if you don't cash flow for 3 to 6 months if you know that you can refinance in 6 months? So you just set aside an extra couple $1,000s for financing and say, hey, I got a good enough deal on this property by putting no conditions that I'm willing to pay this extra financing cost until I can refinance the property with an A lender. And maybe if it takes time to find a JV partner, or to find an A lender who will throw a mortgage on it, and hopefully with a BRRRR. So hopefully that was helpful. To answer the last part of your question, bench press. I don't know. I bench press my body weight, so I can currently bench press a little bit more than my body weight. So I weigh 140-ish pounds right now, and I can bench press about 145 pounds, 1 or 2 times. So I'm not that strong, but that's pretty good. I mean, I'd like to get to a point where I'm doing like a plate and a 25 on each side. That'd be a goal I'd like to get towards. I'm not quite there yet, but I can do like a 45 a couple times, and then I'm kind of burnt out. But I'm getting stronger, and it's in my genetics, I think, to be like a lot. My uncle and my dad used to do a bit of bodybuilding, and they used to curl 80s, so they were like big, strong guys. That's in my genetics, so I just need to like tap into that, eat well, and just make it like I literally go in the mirror after and do like envisioning exercises where I see myself getting stronger, right? And then I go and I hit the gym again. And it's like, you've got to want it, you've got to see it, and then you got to put the hard work in and make it happen. So I just believe that like I'm going to get huge as long as I stay with this. And I don't know if my goals will change, but right now my goal is to get to a certain level of fitness. It's not like huge, it's just stronger than I am now and bigger than I am now. But I'd like to just gain about 10 pounds of muscle, and that'd be perfect. But hopefully that answers your question there as well. Okay, next question is from Jordan. Jordan says, what would you recommend to start with a fourplex and do the work of evicting tenants, or start with something safe to begin with? So Jordan, it depends. I think that there's value in the learning process associated with buying a property that you're going to be up to your eyeballs in work and stress, trying to get rid of the tenants and fix it all up. I think you'll learn more being thrown into the fire than you would just starting with a safe property. Most people, myself included, started with a safe property. I bought a cute little property, added a nanny suite to it, renovated it, added some bedrooms, took my time with it. It was something safe. There was nothing structurally wrong with it. The roof was newer. It was a whole all brick house. It was a house that I felt safe and trusted with my first deal. I didn't start buying this stuff with bad foundations and like holes in the roof until much later in my journey. That was just because I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the mentors. There was no network. Like Bigger Pockets wasn't even a thing. There was no YouTubers talking about this other than one guy, Phil Pushchivanovsky or something. Pushchivanovsky. I can't even say his last name, but I have to go look at how you spell it. But Phil, I loved his channel. He was the biggest real estate channel in the world for a long time. And then he kind of just stopped doing videos. He's a multi-millionaire, really smart guy. But I found his channel in 2016 and learned some stuff from his videos. Great content. I think he is the best of the real estate YouTubers that exist, and he's underrated. And that's no diss to Graham or anything. Like, this guy's been doing it for a long time, and he's a practitioner. Like, he's been wholesaling and doing deals for a long time, not just a couple one-off single families, right? This guy's been in it deep, and his stuff's really good. His educational whiteboard stuff is dry, but really good. I need to rewatch a lot of his stuff just to get fresh on it and maybe do some videos on some of the stuff he talks about, because he does talk about a bunch of great stuff. So to answer your question, it's up to the individual, I think, Jordan. I think you'll learn a lot more buying the triplex or fourplex that needs work, or the duplex that needs work and has the bad tenants. I think you'll learn a lot more through that process, but you might not be ready for it yet. So maybe it makes sense to start with something simple, like a nice duplex you live in, you house hack, and then move on to that property for your second property. It's probably the safer way to go, because I'd hate for you to get into your first fourplex, get it over your head, decide real estate investing isn't for you, and then quit. So I think it's probably safer to go with like the duplex strategy and then ease your way into the really heavy stuff. But in the heavy stuff, in the hard stuff, is where you make the most money. So it is what it is. Real estate investing property management is a draining, terrible business to be in. Trust me, I'm in it. It's the worst. Dealing with like low tenants, like scummy tenants, dealing with all the repair work, dealing with the management, all that is $30 an hour work at best. The real places you add value in real estate are on the buy and the renovation. Those are the only two places I think you add a lot of value. If you're a really good manager and you're good at evicting tenants without going through the landlord-tenant board, which is something I'm really good at, that's a high-value task. That can be worth $500 to $1,000 an hour to get out a good tenant. The other place you can add a ton of value is in the leasing process. You can add 50 to $100 an hour in value, placing really good tenants in a property at above market rents. So the people who are good at those things, that's where the major value adds are. Financing, deal hunting, renovation, and vision. That's the major value adds. Everything else is low value. But you need to know it, I think. To get to the high value stuff, you have to master the low value stuff first. And so it is what it is. I wish there was like an easy silver bullet. Real estate investing can be very complex. Does using the 0% 12-month loan on the MBNA hurt one's ability to get more mortgages? In theory, no. It doesn't affect the number of mortgages at all, but it would show up on your credit rating. It would show up, in theory, it would show up on it would affect your ratios for total debt servicing. It would affect some stuff for getting mortgages. I used the MBNA stuff right before my last mortgage. So I used all my available capital until it was all gone. Once all that was gone, then I tapped into the lines of credits and the MBNA. And I used those mostly for renovation work, to be honest with you. Like while I was waiting for a purchase plus improvement to come back, I was needing like $60K for rentals, and I was taking it from lines of credits and stuff like that, and 0% MBNA cards. So yes, it would affect your ability to get mortgages in the sense that your income would have to help service also the payments on that credit card. So they're going to look at that as debt that's owing, unsecured debt that's owing, and they're going to factor that in. They might even require you as part of the next mortgage to pay off the MBNA card, which would suck because you've already paid a 2% balance transfer fee. So if it was like 6 months later, then you've paid 4% interest, I guess, on the money for 6 months, because 2% times 2. Um, yeah, so it's kind of hit or miss. It depends on what your strategy, what your goals are. Getting a deal done is better than no deal at all, I think. So it depends on where you're at in your journey. I think for you, Eric, specifically, it doesn't make sense to max out the MVNA and all that stuff until you've used all your other available credit. And maybe when the mortgages start maxing out, then you use that capital. On your last deal, you stretch yourself a little thin and then use that stuff for the reno, budget there. So Williams, so they're talking about Restore. We did that question. Alan Grace, good to see you on. Crypto Cheese says, since I'm putting 20% down, when would you refinance the deal to pull out equity for the next deal? Should I get 2 years fixed or 5-year fixed? Okay, so I refinance as soon as possible, Crypto Cheese. If there is equity created that is, say, more than 10%, so is it worth the cost of refinancing? Because when you refinance, you may have to pay breakout costs on your mortgage, you may have to pay additional legal fees, appraisal costs, etc. So are all those fees worth the money you're going to get? I think there has to be enough in the property to refinance out for it to be worthwhile. So how long depends on how the market is going. Have you added value to the property? For instance, you can own a property for 5 years in a flat appreciation market where no appreciation has happened at all. Maybe it's even a down market where your property is devalued, and maybe you pay down some mortgage over that time, so you have some mortgage pay down, and you didn't do any work to the property. In that case, it may not make sense to refinance. But if you bought the property and 6 months later you dumped $50,000 in renovation budget and you created $100,000 in value by maybe converting a single family to a duplex or duplex to a triplex. I've done single family to triplex, for instance, and I made $100,000 in that conversion. Within 6 months, I need to pull that money out. So if you've made a lot of money in a property, you have to say, okay, there's like $150,000 in equity here based on market value of the property. It doesn't make sense to have that money tied up when it could buy you 2 more properties. So that's when it makes good sense to pull out. I would say when you have enough money to buy another property, that's a good time to pull out and refinance the money out of the property. And then the second part of your question, should I get 2-year fixed or 5-year fixed? It depends on your goals for the property. For a long time, I was an advocate of the 2-year fixed because it was trading at such a discount. The 2-year fixed used to be at like a 1.99%, where the 5-year was at like a 2.69. For a long time, 70 basis points was too large of a spread, I thought, between a 2-year and a 5-year fixed. Now, my thoughts are, it depends on your goals. I think in this market right now, with the strategies that I use, where I add value to the property, within 2 years, I've almost always got enough equity in the property for another down payment on another property. Almost always. So every 2 years, I want to refinance. That's why I do a 2-year strategy, because I know in 2 years, I'm going to want to refinance. And a good time to refinance is when your mortgage interest term comes up for renewal, because there's no interest penalties and no breakout fees to go in for a bigger mortgage. So I always did 2 years because I always want to refinance after every 2 years. That said, on a property, it's already turnkey. If you're like refinancing a property and you've already put all of the value adds in that you can, you don't expect there's going to be any major appreciation, then why not stretch it out for a 5-year if the terms are reasonable? Now, the 2-year has to be at a significant discount to the 5-year, in my opinion, because if you're going to lock in for 5 years, you want to make sure that it's at, like, there needs to be enough discount premium for the risk. 2 years should be trading at like a, I don't know, in my opinion, like 40 to 50 basis points difference. It's sort of, every deal depends, right? Some banks offer promotions on like their 2-year fixed and their 5-year fixed sucks. Some banks are really good on their 5-year fixed and suck on their 2-year. I ask, whenever I apply for every mortgage, I ask them to quote me a 1-year fixed, 2-year fixed, 3-year fixed, 4-year fixed, 5-year fixed, and a 5-year variable. And I pick the one that makes the most sense in the current interest rate environment, where I think rates are going to be going in the next few years. And I sort of look at the discounts. The shorter the term, the better the interest rate. Like a 1-year fixed needs to have a lower rate than a 2-year fixed, than a 3-year fixed. Sometimes credit unions are weird like this. Like their 5-year fixed are cheaper than their 2-year fixed, and their 2-year fixed is like, cheaper than their 1-year fixed. It makes no sense, but sometimes banks do certain weird things to incentivize certain terms they want people to take on their mortgages. So it just does depend. I'd have to see the specifics, but I'm a big fan of the 2-year fixed because I think most people who add value to their property. So if you're going in to renovate the property and add value, I think it makes a lot of sense to do the 2-year fix so you can refinance your money out after 2 years. And then maybe go in for a 5-year after that. Again, depends on what the lender's offering you, what terms are they offering you with that 5-year fixed versus that 2-year fixed. You've definitely given me good advice tonight. Thanks, Steez. Appreciate that. I will not buy any properties that don't cash flow less than 20% down. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your market too. Maybe there's, that said, like in Vancouver, you might find a property at 20% down that doesn't cash flow. That is an amazing deal. It's like a couple $100,000 under market value. If you're flipping, totally different scenario. Like you can do flips and make a ton of money in Vancouver and Toronto and you won't cash flow at all. So maybe your strategy is flipping, I don't know. And if it is, like I don't want to tell you not to buy any properties that don't cash flow, because you could buy properties that don't cash flow and still make a ton of money. So it just kind of depends on your strategy. If your strategy is long-term buy and hold cash flow, yeah, don't force cash flow by putting more down. So D's information says, can you make a video or a series of videos one day about how to lend my money out and secure it against the property to the person you lend to? I'm thinking there's some legal type documentation. So when I lend out money and when I borrow money, it's almost always been on a trust basis. People watch me on Instagram. They know what I'm doing every single day. They follow me on my social media. They know me through the network or whatever, through people that they know that know me. And there's a whole network and we're ingrained in that, right? So I lend on promissory notes. I have a 4-page loan document that I use for all my lending out and all my lending in. I don't even secure against mortgages, secure against properties with mortgages in most situations. I lend on trust. And with a promissory note, what you can do is you can sue them and take from their whole net worth. So if you're lending to people who are wealthy, who have really high net worths, like if someone's lending to me, I have a multi-million-dollar net worth. I can guarantee you if the property fails, you can just sue my personal net worth and take it from one of the other properties or take it from my cash reserves. I think when you're doing personal lending, you should ask them for them to set, like they should show you their bank account. They should show you some of what they're doing, right? So you can get a glimpse into their, maybe a net worth statement that shows you all their assets and all their liabilities, and have them have an accountant sign it, or maybe make them sign it under oath. It's a bit of a trust game, but you'll get a way higher rate of return doing unsecured lending, meaning it's not in the form of a mortgage. It's like a promissory note. I'm a big fan of that type of lending. I think that that's the best way to get a high rate of return. That's how I borrow a lot of my money, is just promissory notes. It's way easier. You don't have to spend the $800 with the lawyers to register against the mortgage and all this kind of stuff. It's a lot easier. It is obviously a bit riskier, but it depends who you're lending to. Like if you're lending to someone like me, it's probably equally risky. It's probably equally risky to lend against the property than it is to lend to me. Lending unsecured is lending against my personal net worth. And so my personal net worth is actually stronger than lending against a property that I buy. Like you'd have a better chance of recuperating than trying to force a sale on the property that I'm buying. You probably have a better chance suing me and getting the money from me because my net worth is so great, right? So it depends on how you lend. Like I think lending to a person can make more sense than lending against a property. It's just lending against a property makes sense when the person has a bad net worth or you don't trust them. At the end of the day, if you trust the person and they're ingrained in the network, that's a good person to lend to. Someone who's got a family who's like ingrained in this market and they know everyone that you know, and like maybe other people have lent the money too. And so that's a good way, I think, to choose how to lend to people. At the end of the day, there's a bit of risk associated with it, but in the same way that there is in real estate. Tiger Rocks, thoughts on Ottawa? I like Ottawa as a city. Last time I was there, I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of growth happening in Ottawa. I feel really good about it. It feels like there's a lot of gentrification happening. It seems like the economy is overall pretty strong. They have a really good government presence there, right? Because it's like the capital of Canada. It felt a lot like it felt like there was a lot less cash flow in the little bit of time that I spent in Ottawa and looked at real estate there. It felt like the cash flow wasn't near as strong as what we have in London, but I could be wrong on that. And there could be pockets in Ottawa where you still have great cash flow. It's starting to feel in Ottawa like Toronto. So I like that. It makes Ottawa feel like it's a very resilient, robust market. And so I feel good about Ottawa. I feel better about Ottawa than I do about Toronto, if that helps. But I'm by no means an expert.
Ottawa will never be as tall as Toronto.
Yeah, there you go. It's true. It just won't.
They literally can't. They won't go over. It's like legislated. They can't go over.
Oh, because all the government buildings and stuff. Yeah.
They won't go over it. They can't go over it.
There you go.
So no building will ever be too tall in Ottawa.
I do like it though.
It's an interesting fact.
There you go. Kyle's got the interesting facts.
Yes. I don't know if everyone heard me. I am actually mic'd up, so.
I can see the mic going off, so I know they heard something.
Oh, there you go.
Those leg press in jeans. Oh, so Mike was following following my Instagram stories where I did leg press. So I went to the gym with jeans on and forgot track pants, and doing a leg workout in jeans is the worst. I had to undo my belt, undo the pants to squat, and to do like I was literally like just like taking everything out of my pockets, my phone, my wallet, everything, my keys. So I was literally just like, and it was tight, right? Because when your legs get pumped out, then jeans are not a good fabric to work out in. So huge mistake. But here's something to the hard workers out there they'll totally relate and totally understand. You need to, if you're there at the gym, you got to hustle. If you're there at the property, don't make an excuse. Oh, I don't have the right shoes on. Like people just go home, right? Oh, I don't have the right work pants on. I might as well just go home. No, waste of time, waste of efficiency. I was already there at the gym. I was gonna make the workout happen, and so I did. I pushed it in jeans, and I got super sweaty. It was the worst. Jordan, can I buy a condo in London in cash and then sell it and privately finance the buyer? Yeah, you could. What is the going interest rate? What would happen if the buyer defaults on the mortgage? Thanks for the knowledge. So yeah, you definitely could do that. 100% you could. What is the going interest rate? Depends on the deal. So theoretically, you could do a vendor take back with the person you sell it to for 100% of the value of the property. So they could buy it with no dollars down. You could also say, hey, you got to put 10% down and I'll finance 90%. And the property stays in your name and maybe they manage it for you. They're basically glorified managers, but you're giving them control of the property. So in that sense, they're owners and they get all the cash flow for it. So yeah, that could be a good situation. I haven't seen that done very often. That's a very creative strategy. I guarantee you if you go out to some of the real estate meetup groups in the London or wherever market you want to do it in, if it's London, you go into London real estate meetup groups like Real, there are people there who will take that deal. When I was younger, I would have loved to have taken that deal. And I think the interest rate you charge has to be proportional to the cash flow they can receive from the property. You can't make it so that they have no cash flow, right? You can't charge them like 12% on the whole property and then expect that they're gonna be able to cash flow it, because then they'll be cash flow negative. Before long, they'll default and you have to take the property back. And you don't want a power of sale and take the property back. It's a real pain in the ass, because you basically just have to force the sale. You can't even sell it to yourself. You have to force the sale to someone else. I'm pretty sure is how it works. So yeah, honestly, I'd rather lend with a private mortgage. I'd rather have someone else buy the property, put it in their name, and then lend the private mortgage to them. That would be a better way to do it. Or if you can get A-lender financing from a big bank, then you could JV it with someone and have them do all the active management and you get some of the cash flow. There are lots of creative ways you could do it. It sort of depends on the situation and who you're working with, but there are lots of ways you could do it. You could just literally, you could just literally take the capital you're going to buy this property with and just lend it to someone as a second mortgage or first mortgage security against the building they're going to buy. You could unsecured lend it out too to someone to buy some properties with. It's up to you. There's lots of ways to play it. You could just buy property yourself and hire an active manager to manage it all. They won't ever do a good enough job because they're not an owner, but you give them an equity stake in the property and then they'll care like it's their own property. That's one way to do it too. Gertie McGee says, hi Mike, found your new channel. Awesome. Welcome to the new stream. Welcome to the new channel. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it a lot. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Very informative and inspiring as usual. Evan Hernder. Did I say that right? Evan Hernder. I think I said that right. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it so much. This comment was nice. I like getting positive feedback as opposed to negative feedback. So thank you so much for that. Smash that like button, guys. It means a lot if you engage in the content. Makes YouTube think that there's actually good content. And I would appreciate that if YouTube did think that there was good content. I'd like this new channel to get to a point where we can get it monetized so that I can start doing things like super chats and some of the other stuff. When there's advertising revenue on a channel, it tends to do better. So I want this channel to do well as well. It will only be a live stream channel, I think. It will only be like very Patreon styled individual videos for the loyal subscriber base, I think. But I think it still has potential to grow too. In its own niche, I think this could do really well. It's just like a really real estate focused channel where we talk about all the things. And then the main channel will be more high level, entertaining videos that'll blow up. So fingers crossed. If you could do me a favor and share this, link to this video on some of my old Wise Wealth shows on my main channel, that would be cool. Just share it all around on your social media. That would be cool too. I like to at least get 100 subscribers. I'd like to think we at least have 100 loyal subscribers that will take like a minute out of their day to click on this new channel, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That'd mean a lot. Okay, next question. I don't know what that was. Oh, Phil Pushchevsky. Phil Putovazovsky or something. Yeah, he's great.
I posted a link to his
Phil Poost, we'll call him. I'm thinking about building a property from scratch. A friend of mine from high school has a company that builds individual homes. He'll hire all the contractors. Do you know the best way for me to ensure this works? The work is quality. That would be his job, right? It would be his job to make sure that the contractors are doing good quality work as the general contractor or builder. I have a subdivision of my own. People don't know this. I don't talk about it a lot. Just near Grand Bend area, where I bought an acre of land with a really nice house on it, a 2,000 square foot bungalow on it. And there's a shop, 2-car plus garage shop in the other lot. And I went through all the processes and I got it legally severed into a small subdivision. So it was a big acre property. I had it severed into 4, all with private beach rights. So they each own part of the private beach. And there's now 4 lots. One of them has a garage on it that doesn't comply. So I have to tear down the garage or apply for a minor variance, which is what I'm gonna do, is apply for a minor variance. And then the main house we're gonna renovate, turn it into a, it's gonna be a 4-bed, 4-bath, really nice house. We're gonna sell that off, recuperate all our investment, and then we're gonna have 3 lots left over. So the plan is, with that, I'm gonna hire a builder to build on all 3 of those lots. I'm actually interested to see what your thoughts are on some of the costs with that. I was gonna just hire a builder, pay them a $70,000 salary, and have them GC all 3 projects. It's a good salary for someone for a year of their time. They would live there basically and just manage those 3 builds. So I don't have to do it. They coordinate all the materials, all the trades, all of that. I think a good way to monitor quality is to go on site. Go on site once a month or every other week or random spot visits and see how the work's going along, right? Only pay the trades based on work, like charge them a job price. And as a result, if the job is done to your satisfaction, they get paid. And so trades will have to get the work done to your satisfaction. That's how you ensure the quality of the work. And maybe you hire a third party to go in and say, hey, is this work being done properly? Thankfully, there's something called the Ontario Building Code, and there's something called a building permit. So the municipality that you're building in will require everything to be done to code. So they're going to inspect the work to make sure it's all done properly. So there are levels of channels that protect you from being screwed over. Like the electrician can't screw up the wiring, and the plumber can't screw up the plumbing because it's all inspected by the government, right? So that's something too that kind of guarantees that you're safe. These information says I have one uncle who knows cement and a different uncle who does sheetrock. These information, there you go. You can leverage your family connections for sure. That'll help ensure that you get a cheaper build, because building can be expensive if you do it improperly. I'm really probably going to start documenting some of this. I should really just go to that site and talk about the subdivision I'm doing. We should go drive there and do some drone footage and have some fun and show it off. I think that'd be kind of a cool project that could do really well on YouTube on the main channel. So maybe I'll do a video there and we'll walk around. I'll explain how a subdivision agreement works and how a subdivision is 4 or more lots. So a small subdivision, how does that work? How do you go about severing lots? How did I know that I could do it with this property, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. By the way, working in the municipality I was working in, it was a small municipality. It was great. They were great to work with compared to London, where they're very hard to work with and slow to get things done. Mike, I'm curious what portion of your profits would you say are due to good timing? If there were no appreciation over the next 5 years, how much do you think this would affect returns? Thanks. So William, good question. Great question. I've asked that myself. Like, what would have happened if the market didn't appreciate? What will happen over the next 5 years if nothing appreciates? I think that if there's no appreciation over the next 5 years, my return on investment on all my properties will be about 25%. So I aim for a cash flow return of 25%. So for my rental income return of 25%. So in a flat market with no appreciation, 25%. Now, that's part 1. Most of the properties I buy, I would say 90% of them, are a part 1 and a part 2. There's 3 parts to real estate, right? There's cash flow, retail arbitrage, and then appreciation. So retail arbitrage is the idea that you can buy properties for discounts. So you can buy a property for less than it's worth right now. You can buy it for 80 cents on the dollar right now. So in a flat market, you buy 100,000 valued house for $80,000, it's worth $100,000 on the day of close. So you can make 20% right away. Now on 20% down to make 20 grand, that's a double of your down payment. So with retail arbitrage, I can double my down payment on day one. That's 100% return on my investment. So in a lot of cases with retail arbitrage plus value add strategies like renovations, I can often get a double on my money. So a full burr. A full burr is the idea you can pull all your money out. If you're getting a full burr, you've already doubled your down payment. That's 100% return on investment. So I aim for 100% return on investment within the first 2 years plus 25% from cash flow. So William, I expect in a perfectly flat market to make about 125% return on investment in the first 12 to 18 months. So I like to double my money. Now that requires 80% loan to value. That requires me getting a mortgage on the property. But that's what I aim to do. Now in an appreciating market, I've gotten 2, 3, 4, 500,000 or 500% return on my money because of appreciation. So without appreciation, I just make less. What would I have made without appreciation? Less. Would I be a multi-millionaire today? Probably not. Would I be a millionaire today? Yes. So I'd have made money. Would I have made as much? No. Would I be FIRE right now? Yes. Would I be, yeah, I'd be about half as wealthy as I am now. I'd be a millionaire for sure, but I wouldn't be a multi-millionaire without appreciation. So that's what it is. You want to invest smart, but if the market helps you, that's a bonus. You want to invest for that. Brandon says, I forgot you were on. Did you ever read my post in Fired Up Finance about the tenant telling me they have high water bills and they had the water company come in and found the toilet was wasting water? Tenant was saying it's not fair they had to pay for extra water. Thoughts? No, I don't recall that one. Maybe I briefly read that one. I get a lot of notifications on Facebook. It's really annoying. I have 5,000 friends, and so I literally get 18 birthday notifications every single day. That's what it is. If you divide 5,000 by 365, you get about 15 to 18 birthday. Some days I have 25 birthday notifications, and I'm like, holy crap, here are my 3 actual friends, and the rest of these people are professional connections. Anyway, so I get a lot of notifications on Facebook, and I miss a lot of the pertinent stuff, which sucks. But to answer your question, could the tenant go after you and say that it was your neglect that caused the water leak? Maybe. Would that hold up landlord-tenant board? Maybe. There's a specific program the tenant can apply to in most municipalities called a water leak relief fund. There's one in London, for instance, we just applied to on one of our rental properties. And for things like the toilet leaking that are unknown ghost leaks, where there's just a gasket seal, it's just, you don't even know about it until it's too late. In those situations, you can apply, and if your one bill is really high and the average of your last 12 months is low, they'll rebate the difference back to the average. It's a one-time use, but your tenant could apply for it and get relief from the city. And the municipality does have that relief program. So I would have them apply to that first, Brandon. That would be my first comment. So apply to that program. They'll probably get relief. There's a really good chance, 90% chance they'll get approved and they'll get paid for. So it'll be a non-issue. But let's say they wouldn't pay for it in worst case scenario. At the landlord-tenant board, they're going to say, they're going to ask how, they're going to say, how to prove that it was the toilet. How much of it was attributed to the toilet? I think an adjudicator would say it's hard to prove what is the actual tenant's usage. Maybe they had a lot of showers that month. It's really hard to trace it back to that one thing. I think you wouldn't there'd be no compensation. I would say no, I would do nothing and there's no recourse for them. Unless they're really good tenants, maybe you want to help them out. You want to keep that relationship and that rapport, cool. But you don't have to do anything. And is it fair? I mean, but how do you prove how much is coming from the toilet, right? You can't.
Also, life was never quoted as being fair. So
Yeah, life isn't fair, right? Truth.
people forget that nowadays.
That's right.
True.
Zalian Mailbox says, when you refinance the new mortgage, will be subject to stress testing, right? Is there a way to get around this? Do you think the government will somehow realize and get rid of stress testing to boost the economy? No, I think Zalian, that the reason they did the stress testing was on purpose. They wanted people not to have as big of mortgages. They wanted the debt per capita to be reduced. They wanted people to live within their means and borrow less. The only time I can see them reducing stress testing is if we went into a big recession in Canada and they wanted people to be able to afford mortgages again. But right now, I don't think that's their intent. I don't see them making any change to that. Stress testing does affect refinances, as far as I know, yes. Unless you're going through a credit union, in which case it won't. Because the stress test doesn't apply to credit unions like Meridian or Libro or Main Street or Van City. Yeah, it's sort of tricky. I think that, yeah, every time I've refinanced, I've been okay. I've got approval for the refinances, but it is getting trickier to refinance. A great way to do it is the purchase plus improvements. That's a really great way to get a refinance when there's no reapproval, because the purchase plus, you get that money guaranteed as long as you just do the work that you said you're going to do. No one had extra shorts for you. Yeah, I didn't even ask. I didn't even ask. It's fine. I just did it in jeans because forget it. Efficiency, right? After forcing equity, do you need to qualify for the new loan with income? Yes, you do have to qualify. But if the property is now rented out, you might go back to the bank with a lease for $1,800 for the upper unit and $1,200 for the lower unit and have $3,000 a month in new income that you can use to help you qualify. So most banks will take half of that rental income and apply that as income to help you qualify. So where you were buying a vacant property before and now you're buying a property that's rented out, you have a way better chance of getting a refinance, often for a lot more money. So that extra income can be in a big way. Like when I had 5 rental properties, my rental properties provided more help to my mortgage qualifying than my $50,000 a year salary did. So rental properties can actually add a ton of income to your bottom line, especially if they're brand new properties you just bought in the last year and you don't have a full year of taxes on them. The bank can't ask for a T776 or TD1 general. They have to just take the lease at face value. So you can imagine you could get a lease done for $2,000 when the rent's renting for $1,500, and there are people that make leases for more than what the units are rented for, get their tenants to sign off on it, give it to the bank, and understate their expenses. Say, oh, my heat cost for the building is $50 a month. Oh, my hydro is $100 a month. My insurance is $50 a month. And the bank takes that and says, literally, okay, you're making, $1,500 a month on this property. We'll throw that income in. Banks like Scotiabank do something called a mortgage offset. And so if that property is generating more than enough cash flow to self-sustain it, the mortgage payments and all the debt, they'll cross it off and pretend it didn't even exist using the self-servicing. So that's how Scotiabank can get you to 10 mortgages, no problem. My connection at Scotiabank does 10 personal mortgages all day long. So that's one way. When you have a decent job, they'll basically, if the mortgages are more than covered with the rents, if you're buying in like London, for instance, it's an all day long. If you're buying in Toronto, they might not work with the crossing out method. It probably won't work as well. But if you're buying cash flowing properties, it'll work. Yes, I heard you knock on the door. Yes, I'm coming. Bath time, guys, almost. It's 8:30. Okay, 8:15, bath time, William says. Thank you for making a good stream. Thanks, William. Appreciate you for joining in. I appreciate all of you guys. All 15 of you guys who are on here right now who are watching, just dropped down to 14. All 14 of you guys who are on here now watching, I appreciate it. And for all the people who jumped in along the way to watch even for a few minutes, and for all of the people who are going to find this stream in the next week or 2 or 3, or maybe you're just joining me 2 years later and you're finding this replay, I appreciate you for watching this for an hour and a half long. And I would appreciate a like and a comment. Just jump in the comments and say, hey, Mike, just enjoyed the stream, jumped in for 5 minutes. That means a lot to me. Just one comment means a lot. When people watch my videos and then no one leaves a comment, it hurts me. It's like, oh, did you not engage with the content? Did you even watch it? So the commenting helps me. This channel is not monetized at all. I make nowhere near enough money from YouTube. And I'm doing this because I'm trying to give back. And so if you're finding value from this in any way, let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to keep doing this for you guys out of the goodness of my heart, because I think that this is one of the things I was meant to do on this earth, which is help people. That's why I have the mentorship program that I have now. And that's why I've got the mentees. And that, for me, feels like really my core purpose is giving back and helping people unlock fire. I think through real estate, because it's the fastest way to do it, but you can do it through frugality and saving as well. It's not the only path. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for jumping on it. Appreciate it a lot. Oh, look at all the comments jumping in. Thanks, Mike, for sharing your knowledge and valuable time. Marco from the Netherlands, love your vlogs. Thank you, Marco. Appreciate it. Thanks for answering all my questions tonight. Thanks, Deez. Crypto Cheese has great value tonight. Thank you. Linda says, thank you, Mike. First time joining in and very helpful. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it so much. All of you guys who watch, it means so much to me. Tiger Rock says, you're the real MVP, Mike. Thank you so much. All this stuff means a lot to me, guys. This is why I do it. For the guys and girls that watch this and are my core subscriber base, that person that I've helped get their first property, and all those Instagram messages that I get because I'm helping people, that's where the real value is. It's in investing in you guys and investing my time each and every week for you. I'm going to keep going live from this new channel. Please pass it around. If you guys can all do me a favor, for the 14 people who are still watching, can all 14 of you guys go onto all of my old 50 streams on my old channel and link to the new channel? just say, hey, Mike's doing his live streams from this channel. Love his stream this week. Jump on there and check that out. That would mean a lot to me. Then people are going to go through. I'll pin one of your guys' comments. And then, by the way, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers on the main channel. 10K subs. At 10K subs, one lucky person from a comment at random on one of my videos is going to get the day with me, or at least to get a consulting call if they live far away. So jump in for that opportunity. It'll be a fun one. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it so much. Kyle says, I saw his comment there saying smash the like button, tune in next week. Yeah, I look forward to tuning in next week with you guys, 7 p.m. Eastern on this channel. And hopefully in the meantime, we'll get the subs up to at least a couple hundred of you loyal guys who will watch the show. I always enjoy and appreciate your insight, Mike. Thanks for all your efforts. Got in late, but I will catch the replay. Thanks, Akira. Appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you guys in the comments on the replay and on the main channel too. Bye, guys. Oh, got to do my catchphrase, even on the new channel. The secret to unlocking a wealthier you is spending less, earning more, and maximizing returns. Those are the 3 levers you have to play with, guys. Spend less, earn more, maximize returns. No one was talking about the 3 levers. I was the first to pioneer it. People kept talking about like saving and earning, but no one said, hey, there's 3 levers. And these are the only 3 levers you have to play with. So I've popularized that phrase. And then as you build wealth, it's the opposite order. You want to maximize returns, earn more, and then spending less becomes the least important once you build up a ton of wealth. But in the beginning, very important to making your first $1 million is spending less. Frugality is the key. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Mike Rosehart Show, out.